Welcome back. All right, we're going to go through some terms and definitions so we can get a good handle on when I'm using certain terminology. We are all on the same page. So first of all, we're going to talk about what adult education is. So adult education is usually the term used when we're teaching adults, or it's also related to adult learning theory. Um, but most of the time, I find adult education, and I don't like the term really because I usually find instructors, and you'll also find that institutions will refer to students who are struggling, or if they don't have a high pass rate, they blame it on adult education. So what they've done is they actually most of the time they use the terminology adult education is to shift the responsibility of poor course design onto the student, and they do stuff like, and you'll hear like another term you'll hear is that, oh, they just need to read their textbook again. Oh, they should read that textbook 4 times. Well, they've proven that reading it just reading a textbook over 4 times does not improve how much information they're going to hold. So really, on a whole, adult education I find is not as a derogatory term, and it does not promote good learning. So again, although the education is usually excuse for poor design, it's how you shift the responsibility of poor course design onto your learners, and it's not a great thing, especially when a learner is paying big money for your course. What I think we should be using is the term responsible learning. So, how responsible learning works is that you, as the instructor or course developer, the one with the idea, you are totally responsible for designing a course that make learners successful. Like, don't get me wrong, in the end, the learner is responsible for learning the material, but it's the same as if you bought a car to drive off a lot, you need all four tires. And if you're missing two of them, like in poor course design, it's really hard to be successful. So basically, responsible education is great education design. Next, we're going to talk about value. So value comes in two kind of parts. Value is that what is the actual value of the course overall to the student or the learner, and how much is the course being paid charged for. So if you decide that I'm going to make a course like this one, it depends on how much you want to charge, on what the expectations will be, and how much support you have to supply to the learners when they're taking your course. So if you think about it, if you do a $5 course, is a lot different than a $250 course, and $1,000 course. So the expectations will be different. But a lot of times when you're doing courses, you'll pay like $20 for a course, and if you pay $1,000 for a course, there isn't much difference between the two courses. Also, we also got to think of that value. It's kind of like going out for dinner. If we go for dinner at McDonald's and pay for a $10 burger versus when we go out to the keg and pay for a $20 burger, we're expecting two different things. The experience is actually different. So when we go to the keg, we expect actually a better experience, we expect better food, we expect better service. So the same thing comes to when we're building course design. For some reason in education, we don't treat the learner as a customer. Next is educational design, instructional design, educational experience design, and ID. So these are all interchangeable. This is just basically when we're referring to the type of course we're building, how it's laid out, how we plan it, the research, everything that's basically in it that makes the course. Instructional design. The newest one is educational experience design. I kind of like the idea of the experience, that we're building an experience for people, because the better experience they have, the more apt they are to have that material and the content stick. The learner's journey. I don't know if much is learned. People have seen this much. I don't even know if it's part of the learning theory, especially adult learning theory. This comes from the more of the advertising industry, or the where you're trying to find out the buyer's journey. What kind of journey are you going to take these learners on? What are the steps? How are you going to make them successful? When you are teaching, most courses should be solving a problem or solving a pinch point for most learners. And that could be just the idea that the problems they're solving is that somebody takes a history class because they want to learn more about history, to the point where somebody's taking a course on Photoshop, they just want to get better at making their images better through Photoshop. Pinch point is also where is the same thing, similar to a problem. Basically, the learner is having trouble with something and it's causing a pinch point for them, and then they want to make that better, and that's why they take the course. So basically, this comes down to this really big thing to help motivate people: is what's in it for me? We need to show what's in it for them. It's very similar to the advertising industry. They want to show you what's in it for you right away to get you to grab you and want you to buy things. Now, if we're a business a company, we're looking at key performance indicators, and that's a little different. We need to figure out the key performance indicator is actually more of a problem, starts out more as a problem for the business. They want to increase sales. They want to get their employees doing something different. We need to do this faster. There's a pinch point at this. We have a bottleneck. We need to fix it. So we're going to, and the biggest thing is you got to make sure that education is the key thing that's going to change that key performance indicator. And it's not like a big thing where you need to do a system thing. You need to change your system. You need to buy new equipment. So again, when we're talking in a business sense, usually the problem or pinch point is coming from the KPI of the business. So we got to also stand that when we go to build the education to help change this KPI, we also got to put in what's in it for that employee. How at their level is this going to make their job easier, make it more fulfilling in that way? So let's move on to the next one. Transfer learning, very quickly, just so everyone understands, that's basically we got to remember that transfer learning is you come take this course, you make your way all the way through it, you have all this extra knowledge, we've transferred the learning to you, and that is fantastic. But the problem is that if we don't change the behavior or your behavior, it's the idea is that you haven't taken the information we've given you that's stuck in your head and build better slides, better curriculum. It still doesn't mean you didn't learn it. Same thing when you're running business training. Just because you taught the employees something new and you can't figure out why they're not using it, it didn't change their behavior. There may not be that value again. It comes back to what's going to make them change. Why do I need to change this? And the last one we're going to talk about is prior knowledge. So again, this comes a bit from the adult learning theory, is that most adults that are coming into your training have some type of knowledge. In adult learning theory, they say that all adults learn differently than children because they have all these other experiences they're bringing into the room. I don't necessarily believe that. I think a high schooler has different experiences that they bring into the classroom. I think primary students have different experiences they bring to the classroom that depends on how well they're going to learn. Even their knowledge. Some students at home will, in high school and like K to 12, will have 3D printers and other things in their house that they'll learn, and other students will have that advantage. So I think we need to look at prior knowledge as what are they coming in with, especially if I'm building a course from scratch like this. What kind of scaffolding I'm going to put in place, and basically just also offer the course. If this course is a higher level learning course, I need to make sure that it's at the front. No. Same thing when I'm teaching EMS for learning and development. We got to look at the difference that we do have three levels of training that we have in our industry. So the guys at the basic level training need a lot more help in the classroom. We need to teach towards them versus if they came in and we only talk towards the ACPs, the higher level, because they already have that knowledge base, the poor EMRs will get lost. Again, you heard me mention the word scaffolding. I love this word. This is scaffolding. Do you know what scaffolding is? It's basically what supports the learner through your education program or your course. So we need to build scaffolding all the way through. One of the examples I talk about scaffolding is example, say you're trying to learn how to do some type of math and there's like 5 steps for the math. But what you'll do is you'll show them the first 5 steps and they'll maybe do 3 or 4 uh, uh, math questions like that. And then what you do is you just keep removing different steps. And then therefore they get that scaffolding built so they learn how to do it. It's also called what people I think drives me crazy is that they said we're not there to spoon feed our students. We shouldn't have to spoon feed them. Well, that's what scaffolding is spoon feeding. And depending on how much money you're paying for the course and depending on the expectations and when you build a course, it might depend on how much spoon feeding you're going to provide. It's the same thing. If I go to the keg and pay $100 for a meal for two of us versus I go to McDonald's and pay $22 for the meal, I expect a whole different level of experience and support and services in the keg versus I do McDonald's. So should be reflected in your price point. Or if you're a business and you're training and the difference in you're trying to make that KPI is huge, right? That should have how much support scaffolding or spoon feed your employees through the training to help them. Yes, I know that adult learning theory says that adults don't like being spoon fed, But I don't necessarily believe that. I think that's just box. I think a lot of times this adult learning theory and adult education actually puts barriers to education. It tells you that you only can teach this way. Sometimes content needs to be taught like a primary school level, where it's that pedagogy where it's just straightforward, get the information across. Sometimes it's just a it could just be a flyer that goes out, like I said, just send out an email with a PDF with a quick little thing on how to teach somebody how to do something if the content's that small. So remember, scaffolding is important. Scaffolding is actually spoon feeding. So when you hear people say, "Oh, we don't shouldn't spoon feed our students," it's probably because you haven't done the work in the end to build good scaffolding in your course.